today we are on day 2 of our Women's History Month or Women's International Month HBN Wellness series. We are featuring the amazing women of the Holistic Business Network all month long. You are going to get to hear from them, hear about some of the amazing things they do, why they are doing the work that they do. So I'm excited to have this conversation with Anna. Oh my goodness, it's always great speaking with Anna. Let's you in. This is our second time trying this. That's why I'm like, prayer hands.
To work?
Yes,
Oh,
awesome. So
hi.
good to see you. Hi, Anna.
Hi. Happy Tuesday. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing?
Good. I had a little tech issues. I wasn't sure if it was me or not, so I jumped out, came back in, but I think we're good now.
Okay, good. I did the same because I was like, I wasn't sure if it was me either. So we both did the same thing and it worked. I am so excited to have this conversation with you. I was saying earlier, there's so much going on when it comes to mental health. Like we're seeing so many athletes that are just like calling it quits due to their mental health. And there's just so many situations that are occurring all around us, influenced by people's mental health. And so I'm just excited to have this conversation with you and get caught up on all things. I know this is a big month for you. So I'm glad you were able to take the time to talk and share your wisdom with us. So Anna, with all the things that are, happening in the mental health space, what are some of the things that you're seeing? I know you work with a certain demographic, but you're in the midst of all of it. I feel like you're connected to other mental health specialists that are doing things, and you're in your world of the younger generation and the Latino population. What are you seeing as some of the things that are like more highly, like you're seeing a lot of recently?
So I'll start off with something good. I think we're having more conversations about mental health, which is very helpful. And I
Yeah.
think this and on trend are going up since the pandemic. I think we are
Hmm.
able recognize how important it is to actually have these conversations and for people to normalize that it's totally okay to go and seek help, right? So we don't need to wait until a crisis. It's great to go and seek support, and we can all just benefit from mental health support. So I'll start off with that. I do think it is becoming, I have teens that start therapy because one of their friends was in therapy before and then they loved it, right? So I think just even having those conversations within the younger generations or normalizing, oh, I have a therapist appointment, and it being like me saying, go have a dentist appointment, right? We're not scandalized
Yeah.
by it, no stigma around it. I think that has become something that positive that we're seeing, and I hope that it continues to grow, and I hope that people can continue to see the benefits of it. Now, when it comes to what we're seeing, maybe like in sessions, I'm seeing so much anxiety from people. I think it's starting off earlier. So I think we're seeing anxiety and even depression in like younger kids. We are exposed to a lot of things nowadays. There's a lot going on in the world. There's always been a lot going on in the world, but now it's in front of us. And whereas before, maybe we heard about it a few days later, we're hearing it live now.
Real
Where
time. Yeah.
or we had maybe one screen at home and then you could disconnect. We now have several screens at home. We have one that we normally go with all the time, right? And I'm seeing that parents don't necessarily realize what their kids are seeing. So, and then beyond the anxiety, the apps that they use, the people that they talk to, and so then that leads into maybe self-esteem, self-doubt, like being unsure of themselves, and then they internalize a lot, right? So I've had several teens also tell me that they don't want to share with their parents because they don't want to burden them. So I think the teens, the younger generations, are also seeing the impact on the parents. And if the parents don't know how to manage stress, don't know how to manage anger, the kids are seeing that, right? And so like they don't want to add to it. So I feel like it's a little bit mix of a whole bunch of things that are going on in today's world.
Wow, that's so good that you spotlighted that because one, I'll speak to the good that you mentioned, that it's more of a conversation and it's more normalized for people to be going to a mental health therapist, which I think is so good because it's an outlet, right? It's an outlet for you to share, for them to, you know, really work through what you're feeling. And I think that's such a great outlet that if you're a child of the 70s like me, you didn't have that. You were like, what? Go where? No. Sit down and be quiet. Go read a book. That was kind of like what you were told to do. So it's so good to have this kind of outlet for younger generations. But in the same instance, a lot of the anxiety and all of that is because of the times we're in with all the technology, right? And so it's so funny. One of the first events I had for HBN, before it was even HBN, when I started these events, the first person I reached out to was a friend of mine who was a mental health therapist, because we were in the midst of the pandemic. It was 2021 when I first started doing these events. And I knew that people needed to have a resource present for that. And you know what? At those events, people would come up to her and like offload, like as if they were in therapy. She was like, I just had to counsel someone at your event. And I was like, well, I'm so glad you were here. So, you know, you guys are doing amazing work. So grateful for you. I'm glad it's no longer like this weird thing or stigma to have a mental health therapist. And even at a young age is more accepting, because I think you guys are just such a great outlet for so many of us. And I love the fact that a lot of times you guys go into it because of your own experience. So tell me, what made you go into the field of mental health?
Yeah, I love connecting with people and being able to support them and just helping people. I love what you said, just that experience of someone offloading. I feel it's funny, a lot of therapists sometimes have a hard time when people are networking or socializing and people ask like, what do you do for work? Therapists have this tendency to sometimes hesitate because people are just like, oh, well, let me tell you about this, right? And then they're just like literally like, well, you know, what do you think I should do? Let me tell you about my mom, my daughter, my neighbor. Like, and
Yeah.
let it roll. And, you know, that's how they connect. You know, we don't want to talk about it, right? But we also don't want to trauma dump on people or share that. Like, I feel like
Yes.
that space where you can come with anything, right? It could be like your neighbor's story, like your mom, your dad, your like sister, whoever, and share that. And I think if you're able to do that with a stranger, just at a like coffee shop or someone you randomly meet at an event, why are you not letting yourself or allowing yourself to have that space to do it with someone that you can build that relationship with and they can be a resource and support for you, you know?
Yeah, so true.
But anyway, so yeah, I went into it to support people, to help people. I came to the States when I was a teen. I had a hard time adjusting to it. And I guess I
Mhm.
didn't really realize it until like later, just like the impact it had. And so I think also now working with immigrants or like second generation, recognizing that assimilation to the US, maybe sometimes processing what they left behind, right? I am lucky enough that I'm able to go back home and go to my home country and see my family. I know there's people that are not able to do that, right? For
Yeah.
because they left for a reason. Sometimes they left due to safety concerns. So like even processing all of that, and now as community, we're also more vocal about the impact all of our emotions have in our body. So not just trauma, but all of our emotions have in our bodies. And so being able to work through that to regulate our nervous system, to be able to overcome maybe some of the struggles that we face because of our mentality and being able to move forward and then hopefully achieving the life that we want to being in a peaceful state and be able to enjoy our life.
So good, so good. And just like you, I moved here to this country when I was 10. I spoke the language, but I didn't sound like everyone else. So then, you know, it is an experience. It is a lot to do. I was kind of like a puppet on a string for a lot of people because they just could not believe how I sounded when I first came here. I'm from England, and so I had a very strong British accent, and I was a Black girl, which was not the norm to hear a British accent out of a Black person, right? So yeah, it's a lot. I know like my older siblings especially were a bit more traumatized because they were in high school and you know, in England, everyone's super polite. They're very, they tell you where to go if you need help, or they are very helpful. And when we came here, it was total opposite. It was like being in New York. You like going to New York and asking a question is like different from being in Florida and asking a question. It's like, whoa. So it was like a culture shock. So I'm glad there's people like you that have that empathy for people. And I think I have that deeply rooted in me because of that transition and then, just a number of things. But it's always so good to have that commonality where you can speak from, you can feel that to help others. Yeah.
And
Okay.
wait, I want to add to that. So that commonality too, like I encourage people like right now, because we're normalizing more about therapy and stuff like that, go and therapy shop if you need to, right? Like if you've had a bad experience with a therapist before, like I want to encourage people to not just like write it off and say it's not helpful. Find someone that's a good fit for you, someone that you feel comfortable with, right? So female, male, older, younger, the approach, the language that you speak, like whatever it is that you're looking for, like non-binary, like this kind, whatever it is that resonates with you, because at the end of the day, that should be your safe space. And if you didn't feel comfortable with them or had a bad experience, it's not you, right? It just was not your space. So go find your space, go find your therapist, and like it can make a huge difference too.
That's a good point. So how do you recommend people find a therapist? Do you recommend it be through word of mouth? Should it be like, how do they find the one for them?
That is a great question. So first, I would encourage people to, if they have someone that they trust that is already going to a therapy sessions with someone, maybe check in with them and see if they would recommend that therapist to see like what's important to you, right? Like, do you prefer maybe someone that you can speak your own language with, someone with the same like faith background, maybe someone that's in the area, right? Like and now we also have the beauty of technology. So like
Mm-hmm.
we have telehealth, which is video sessions too. And so I see clients fully telehealth and it works out for all of my clients, but there's some people that just want in person, right? And some people, because they want that person that relates to their experience or they can switch back and forth the language, they just kind of connect with me. So see what's important to you. And then there's a couple things. If you go online, you can go to Psychology Today, which is one of the biggest directories, and you can filter different therapists. And you can see, like, I want this background or this modality, or this is what I'm focusing on. And it can give you a whole list. You can also call them and do like a little therapy interview and kind of ask them questions to see how they respond, how you feel with them. I also give my potential clients a free 15-minute consultation. And there's a lot of therapists that do that, where you can just meet them virtually, ask them your questions, and you see if you can connect. And then if you want to use your insurance, then I also encourage you to look at your insurance or call your insurance and see who's in network with them.
Oh, that's great. There's a number of ways then. There are plenty of options, and the fact that you can connect with them to see if it's a good fit initially is a bonus. Okay, it's so good. So I don't know if, hold on. I had some specific questions, but I was like just thinking of, what is happening today and kind of what are some of the things. And when it comes to like the anxiety that you're seeing, I think young and old are feeling that because if they're watching the news, which I don't watch TV, I'm just like, I need to help keep my nervous system regulated. I'm not watching that. Like, there's a lot going on in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
What what are some of the basic things that you would tell someone that is dealing with anxiety outside of what you're, speaking them through, like basic things that people can incorporate to maybe lower that anxiety?
Yeah. Great question. I had a client once that was very into the news. So she would be getting updates. I've had actually multiple clients that would be like getting, I still call it Twitter, but like X things like coming up on their phone or like the
Yeah.
headlines. And we literally kind of narrowed it down and we're like, okay, there's a difference between being informed, and I'm glad that you want to be informed, but we also don't want to be living in all of that all the time, right? You need to be able to be in your own life. So we kind of narrowed the time where she was able to check in on the news. So she would check in, be informed, she would check in the highlights, see her local news, and then she kind of took off all the notifications from the other things else. So it was like something that she could control. She could go in and check, but they weren't controlling her, right? And something like that just made a huge difference, because now every time her phone pinged, she didn't have this like, oh no, what's going on? It was just like, okay, like a text message or a reminder to do something or
That is so
something easy.
good.
And it's just something that we don't realize. Like your phone can go off so many times. How many of those did you select you want to be notified about, right? Like, do you want to be notified about every time something happens in the news, in the community? And I get it. We all want to be informed, and, we all want to be aware of what's going on, but we also don't have to be.
Yes. Yes. Were you getting a call?
No, I think it was an alert from my phone, like
You were just talking about alerts and your phone gives you an alert. How crazy is that?
yeah.
No, that is so good. And you're so right. One of the things that I did over a year ago was turn off my ringer altogether. Like turn off my ringer so that I'm not constantly getting dinged and called all the time. A lot of the calls are even spam. So you're hearing your phone go off, and like, I don't want to be a slave to my phone. I already use it in so many other ways, but the constant dinging and messages, like, and that really helped. I never felt like I never had anxiety before. Last year I had a tinge of anxiety because it was just so much. My plate was just too full. So just worrying about all the things that had to be done. But that definitely gave me so much more peace when I turned that ringer off. And then this year, I'm just like, yeah, I am all about just trying to keep my peace in various ways. So,
Yeah. Well, and on that too, like we pour ourselves into so many things. We live in a very busy, fast-paced society. So the other thing with anxiety is make sure that you're recharging yourself. So actually, the notification was like at 20%. So just like we need to recharge our phone, we need to recharge ourselves, right? So being like, okay, like I know I need to go plug in my phone after this. Like, how do I plug myself in, right? Other than sleeping. And even that, people sacrifice their sleep. They're like, oh, I have to get this done, or I have to get up early. And so sleep and care is one of the first things that goes from people's like to-do list. So be productive, but also know that rest is productive, right? So whether it's
yes.
sleeping your 8 hours, whether it's like work day, but take a break to just breathe, go out, enjoy nature, have your coffee, not doing your emails. So take some time to recharge and not always be like on the go.
I love that you just mentioned like those basic things like sleep and going out in nature. And it's funny, I've been on the speaker circuit and I've been on panels with doctors, actually, what do they call them? What are we called here? Western medicine? Are we Western? And then the other side is, I can't remember. I can never remember. But anyway, like what the medical system is here. And I love that even they are mentioning, hey, making sure you're getting enough sleep. Like they're seeing how sleep really impacts. This is something I've been telling people for like the past 15 years, but I'm just loving how that conversation is expanding across the board, whether you're holistic or regular medicine or any of it. It's important. Like our sleep helps your body to repair, recover, and then you're going to have another level of clarity too. And I think a lot of people are lacking sleep. I'm guilty of being a night owl. Honestly, I am guilty. Um, but I do still try to make sure I'm getting enough rest. If I know I feel like I need more, I'm going to try to get that nap in because
Yeah.
it helps me function. Like it does make my brain function better when I am rested. So guys, if you're wondering what's one little thing you could do, maybe getting an extra 15 minutes of sleep. Guess what? This weekend, we are springing forward, so we're gaining an hour. This is the weekend to catch up on some sleep.
Yeah. And even that, right? Oh, your whole body just gets altered with the time change as well. So taking care of yourself, going back to the basics, right? Sleeping, eating, like movement, right? All of those are the basics, and we just tend to write them off, but they make a huge, huge difference.
Speaking of which, do you notice if like things spike during certain seasons? Because I tell you this, when it's daylight savings in October and the time we lose an hour, I am struggling to get my body back to that hour that I lost. Like, oh my gosh, I'm wondering if you're noticing a pattern with that too, or I don't know.
I would have to pay, like, I think whenever there's a big change, there's just the adjustment period, right? So whether it's gaining an out forward or back or whatever, whenever there's an adjustment, a change, the adjustment period takes like a few weeks to a few months, depending on the people.
Mm,
When school starts, right? Going back to that routine of school being out, like
yeah.
kids are out for the summer, the routine of having the kids over for the summer, right? So any change also needs that adjustment period.
And I know like my friends that live up north, they say that they feel the impact of it being darker and the weather changing and being cold. It's funny, one of our members, Miriam, was here from Canada, and she was just like, when she's here, she feels energized. Like the sun just feels different. And where she's from, Quebec, is freezing. It's so cold, and it's gloomy. And so she was like, I just feel more alive here. So I could imagine, people in those areas probably need more of the mental health strategies during that time of year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and when we do have like more like dark hours, if you will, people tend to go out less, right? Or like so there's
Yeah.
less movement interaction. So I feel like it's just like a decrease in all the things that maybe help you maintain that, stability in your mental health. And so obviously you're impacted. So we're lucky in Florida that even though we have changes, we don't have such drastic changes as they do in other parts of the world.
You're right. Absolutely. Okay, so tell me, I know you work with young adults, also a focus on the Latino community, but there's also a program that you do that is like CPR for mental health. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, yeah. So it's called Mental Health First Aid, and it is open to anyone in the community. It is a certification course. Basically, it teaches people how to recognize signs and symptoms of someone struggling with their mental health or someone that may be going through a crisis, being able to support them in that moment and then connect them to appropriate resources. So just like for CPR, you're not trained to be a cardiologist or an EMT. You're just trained to like stabilize and then until proper medical help arrives. The same thing goes with mental health first aid. So we're not teaching you to diagnose, we're not teaching you how to treat them. We're just teaching you how to be there as a support, to recognize the signs, be there for that individual, and then making you also aware of the different resources available in our community. I think because of the stigma before, people sometimes don't know where to go for different services, right? So we think of maybe psychiatrist, we think of maybe psychologist, but maybe people don't know you could also talk to your primary care about it. You can talk to a therapist about it. You can talk to a social worker about it. So there's different things that we also go through in that course.
So who do you usually teach these courses to? For anyone, if they're on here watching, if you're watching the replay, type in replay. Who do you usually do these courses for to educate them and, that community?
Yeah, so it's open to anyone. I've done the courses in hospital for like nurses, schools for like teachers and staff. we've also been lucky enough to be hosted by different agencies. And so we just open it up to the community. So any community member that is interested can come and join. And then we've recently been working with like different cities or organizations that want to host it for their staff. So if there's anyone that wants to host, let me know. Or if you're interested, I can keep you in a list. And then whenever we do have a community one, I can reach out to you and let you know when those are available.
That is so good. I think, with a lot of what we've seen on the news where someone who was going under having a crisis was accidentally shot or, all of that, the awareness for us is so good to have. And I think even more communities and like schools and police departments and all of that should incorporate this kind of like training so the awareness is there and so mistakes are avoided. So that is so good. Any of my commissioner friends and all of that, this is a great program to bring into the cities. Oh, so what month is Mental Health Month?
May.
It's coming up. Oh, wow. So listen, Anna's a great person to have. Anna's going to be busy in May. Okay. She's going to be very busy. You might want to get her now because she's like the only person I know that I personally know that is doing this education. And I think is such a valuable resource for us. So that is so good. Okay. So Anna, can you tell us how people can reach you? You can tell them again if I did not make it clear who you usually work with, what your audience or your target audience is to help, and yeah, all the good things.
Yeah, awesome. I think you did a good job, but I'm just gonna maybe for you to say it again. I work with teens and young adults and also Latinas, a lot of like first gen immigrants, second generation that are experiencing anxiety, depression, self-doubt, maybe don't feel like themselves yet. And I just help support them through the journey, equip them with different tools to help them overcome that. All of my sessions are done via telehealth. So I am based in West Palm, but I have clients from like Miami to the Panhandle. So anyone in Florida, I am able to help. And I do sessions in English, Spanish, or Spanglish if the client prefers. And so yeah, that's for my therapy side. And then yeah, if anyone is interested in any of the courses or doing any of the workshops as a group, as an agency, I'm happy to also connect with them. You'll be able to see that through my Instagram, so Lumen Cordis. And then my phone number is 561-779-3270.
Oh, so good. So good. I should have told anyone that was watching that they can ask questions, but I think some people dropped off. But this was such a good conversation. Oh, there was something else I wanted to touch on with you, but we'll probably have to save it for the next time. Just because some of the things that I'm seeing more prevalent is there's a big conversation around narcissism, and someone was telling me, oh, it may be considered a mental health disorder, and then some people are like, no, it's not, it's just a personality trait. So that has been like a very hot topic like in the past year or so that I'm hearing it circulating over and over, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know what to make of that.
We could definitely have a longer conversation about that. So there
We
is
got
a personality disorder. However, there are certain characteristics that we all as humans can have to one degree or another. That doesn't mean that we meet the criteria for the personality disorder. So similar to anxiety, right? Like we're all going to experience anxiety to one degree or another, but that doesn't mean you are diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder. So I think nowadays, because we're having most those mental health conversations, we're dropping clinical terms and generalizing. And so I think it's harder for people to fully understand the concept. I hear a lot, oh, that person's so bipolar, that person's so narcissistic, that person's so, right? It is, they're clinical terms, but I don't think that all the people using those terms are fully grasping the concept.
Yeah.
However, an anxious person, that doesn't mean that they're diagnosed with that. That's a bipolar person. And again, I don't think they're using it clinically. Just like narcissistic person, they're not using clinical. They may be different aspects of it that resemble the personality disorder or the diagnosis that we clinically use, but I don't agree and highly doubt that everyone using those terms are using it appropriately.
That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So I guess everyone's just throwing words around and is not like, okay, that's not officially a diagnosis. That's just maybe a one or two traits of something in that, personality. Okay, that was a really great explanation.
Yeah, and sometimes, they find someone that has narcissistic tendencies, right? So they describe it as X, Y, and Z, and then they just assume like, oh, that person is so narcissistic. And so, like, again, I think we've diluted sometimes in just our regular conversation what that actually means, and we just
Yeah.
assume things that we don't like, or this person has this kind of tendency, so we just assume. So I think with more awareness and more education, we can also be better informed about the language that we use and just being careful about how we are maybe even just perpetuating the stigma associated with some of the words that we're using.
So good. Yes, this is clip worthy because I think there are a lot of terms that people use, and you're right, bipolar is one of them too. And so just knowing that's not a clinical diagnosis, that's just your opinion. And there's a lot more to it than just that.
Well, even here in Florida, we have very unpredictable weather, and I can't tell you how many times I hear, "Oh, the weather's so bipolar," and I was like, like
I'm guilty.
if someone in the room diagnosed with bipolar disorder, like imagine how that person feels, right? Because we're using and so it's just bringing awareness, being mindful, and
Yeah.
then recognizing that our words do make a difference and have an impact on those around us too.
That is so good. That is so good. Definitely food for thought. And it makes me like now really think of how I'm choosing my words too. That was so good, Anna. Thank you so much for taking the time out. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. I always enjoy our conversations. Thank you for being a part of, I'm calling it Women's International Month, but I heard it's a Women's International Day, and it's actually Women's History Month. But thank you for being a part of this. This is a series that we're doing to feature you amazing women of HBN. And so thank you for being a part of the network and being a part of the series, and keep doing the amazing work you're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. Like, I also enjoy our conversation, so thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing some of the other women featured this month.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day and week. And this month, we get to celebrate each other. And this was such a great, like for anyone who's just jumping on, watch the replay. This was a really great conversation. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.